Ghostbusters Afterlife has some life at the box office. We'll talk about that on Midnight's Edge in the morning, in the afternoon. Greetings, everybody. Hope you're having a great day. I know things are all out of whack because we had the awesome Danny Trejo here earlier today, but that's all right. We're going to talk a little bit of Ghostbusters box office news real quick. We're going to break all that down and see what we feel about all that. But good afternoon, evening, whatever it is where you is. Welcome, everybody. How you doing, Andre?
I'm doing good. Second show of today. So again, a little bit unusual time. Won't be as long a show as normal. But how often do you get to have a live interview with the one and only Danny Trejo?
Yes, and not only that, we have a Ghostbusters film out. So that's another thing that...
that also doesn't happen every single day.
And also joining us today, we have Jesse of Jesse Miller at the Crow's Nest. How you doing, buddy?
I'm having a lovely day. I cannot complain.
Yeah, you had some fun talking to Danny Trejo as well.
How neat is that, dude? Come
That's
on.
awesome. We may have some other guests join us here shortly. We'll see. But otherwise, we're just gonna kind of talk about Ghostbusters a little bit, and that's mainly the topic for today. Andre, of course, sadly won't get to see it for another couple of weeks, right?
That's true. It doesn't open in Norway for another 2 weeks.
That's
I think
downright
it's like December
mean.
3rd. Yeah, I know, but you know why? The reasoning is really mean. For some reason that is completely beyond me. I don't understand it. They decided to delay the release of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, to this weekend, the same weekend when Ghostbusters opened in the US and the rest of the world. And now, since Venom opens this weekend, they can't very well have Ghostbusters and Venom open at the same day. I mean, it's the same distributor, so what do? The only natural thing, they push back Ghostbusters another 2 weeks. The bastards.
Brilliant.
But these are the same guys that also do Spider-Man. So to make up for it, we get Spider-Man a few days earlier than you guys.
They
Well,
should have
Ham
just
Dinger
pushed back Venom. Then they would have Venom Spider-Man. That makes so much more sense.
Ham Dinger says, why don't you just change your location, Andre, by using Surfshark?
Actually, I will tomorrow, because tomorrow is when it is out in the US and US only on various digital streaming platforms. It's obviously not out on any local platforms on streaming because it only opened here a couple of days ago. So I will be using Surfshark to change my location to see it on streaming tomorrow.
So you didn't get a chance to see it in theaters yet?
No, I didn't.
Well, Jesse and I at least saw Ghostbusters.
I decided, what the hell? Like it's streaming in 3 days, and when they waited this long, why would I reward them with my box office money?
That's a good point. But at least Jesse and I have seen Ghostbusters anyway, and that's going to be the main topic of discussion today. Now, we're not going to get into the movie itself per se. We're not going to get into spoilers. We're going to mainly talk about the box office, the impact overall, what a lot of the media is saying. We have a super chat already from a lovely lady who sent us a super sticker earlier as well. Of course, I cannot say the name as well as Andre does.
Yeah, well, I can. Even if I still have like a somewhat compromised voice, I can still try to do a lovely What was asked for $4.99? Hi, gents. Hello, everyone.
Hello. So thank you for being here, and welcome, kids. We're glad to have you. We got over 250 people watching right now. Hit that like button, hit that share. I know this is an abnormal time, but we want to thank you for being here just the same. But yeah, over the weekend, Ghostbusters managed to do okay at the box office. Now, if you remember, Andre, I said it had to do better than Ghostbusters 2016, right?
Yeah.
Sadly, it did not. Only by $2 million, though.
That is extremely unfortunate because it kind of. I was hoping that it would overperform. Like, are these final numbers?
I'm assuming these are the final numbers that Mike gave me from IMDb today. So I believe these are the final numbers.
Because if they're still Sunday estimates, we always have the hope that it will have overperformed
I believe these are the finals. So I'm going to go with that.
So that came just short of the opening of the original Ghostbusters. Now, there's
it did do 60 million worldwide, though, and as you pointed out, it does have some regions to open yet. So
Yeah.
even though that's the case, it did do 60 million overall, and I don't recall what after the answer the call did.
It's the same problem, stacked releases. You can't really
Yeah,
compare. You can only compare the domestic to domestic. And what we have here, though, is a domestic that almost reached the opening of the 2016 movie. Now, this is unfortunate because that means that those who, for some weird reason, still defend the 2016 movie will be able to point to, aha, but that had a bigger box office opening, even though that opened in the middle of movie season in 2016 when the box office was on fire, and in that market it kind of flopped big time. So the next thing now is who's going to have the more staying power, because 16 dropped off really quickly. So
like a
now it's like,
cliff.
yeah. So now is the next question: what kind of staying power will Afterlife have? And also you have like everything else that goes into it. This is like post pandemic, and everything that happened before doesn't really matter. Plus the really big one, this one had half the production cost of
Yeah, as John
16.
Apocalypse points out here on the screen.
Yeah.
Yes, and advertising stuff, but unfortunately, we take those things into consideration. But who won't take those things into consideration, Andre?
The pundits that are the ones making the nasty headlines, they will not take this into consideration. The ones that luckily will, though, are the studio's marketing department, because if you were to consider the production costs, then relative to that, Afterlife had twice the opening weekend as 16.
Yeah, but sadly, they won't give it credit for that because they're just going to continue to do stupid articles like this one
That's what I
here.
mean. The pundits, they won't care. So there'll be horrible articles, but they don't really matter here. What I think is more optimistic is that
Nah.
this is Sony and it's run by Tom Rothman, and Tom Rothman, he's going to see that, yeah, this one actually did pretty good relative to its cost.
As you see
Uh,
by this great headline here, the sexist trolling that led to a new underwhelming Ghostbusters. How Donald Trump, Milo Yiannopoulos, and a cabal of right-wing clowns bullied the new Ghostbusters Afterlife into existence. I mean, look at this shit.
Well, they're talking about me, man. And I enjoyed the strong female lead.
Yeah,
They
I did
want from
too.
us.
yeah,
Seriously.
I think it's funny how they talk about, oh, the sexist in this movie is so underwhelming, even though this one too is female led, but it's not female centric. This is the point that I was making in the previous editorial that we put out, namely that the all the people that are writing these headlines, they look at a poster of Ghostbusters Afterlife, and what they see isn't the poster of Ghostbusters Afterlife. They see Trump, and they see Ghostbusters fans, who they see as a bunch of Carl Rittenhouses, every last one of them. That's why
Yeah,
you
but
get like this
that's
ringing.
mental illness. We can't help these people anymore. We
No,
just
no,
need to
like
tell them what to
they're
do and just
completely
hope they
deranged. They
obey.
suffer what I like to call Ghostbusters derangement syndrome. When they take a look at this Ghostbusters, they don't see the Ghostbusters. They see Trump and they see Rittenhouse. And that's all they see. And then they
Yeah,
must react by
it's just
ringing big time.
I completely agree with you, Andre. But the whole thing is still so insane. But it's true.
Yeah, I know it's true. That's what's so horrible.
Welcome to clown world.
And you'll be fighting nobody, DJ Gamara. I mean,
Yeah,
like, nobody's
you're
gonna
like,
fight
is
you.
it kind of yeah? Who the hell are you going to fight? But of course it isn't. This movie jettisoned it from canon.
Oh Lord, no! I just had to have some fun with that one. Nobody's gonna bother to fight you. No, like, look, whether you like the movie or not, there's been some people who have, and a lot of people who have, and some people who haven't. And I don't mind having debates with people over the movie itself. But one thing I haven't been entertaining too much is the whole woke argument, because this movie has little to no woke in it. It does diversity right, in my opinion. Sure, it's not a perfect movie. As I said, it's like an 8 out of 10 maybe, but the experience was a 10 out of 10. Like I have not felt like this walking out of a movie theater, at least during watching this movie, since like maybe Spider-Man, the original one with Tobey Maguire. Like it just reminded me of how empty a lot of these movies have been in the last 20 years. It's crazy insane how much more soul was in this movie than any of the Marvel movies, even really. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know, but just the idea that the media is taking this angle still is beyond me. But I'm glad to see the film was somewhat of a success. Like you, Andre, though, I was wishing it was a bit more of a success, because that would have helped the argument quite a bit. So we'll have to see how this next week goes, because it is going into a holiday weekend, luckily. And the only competition it has is a Disney movie that they have done a piss poor job of advertising. I didn't even know this Disney movie existed until I went and seen Ghostbusters and they had a trailer for it in Kanto. And I guess this is what they're opening up against this weekend. I don't know if
I've
you've heard
never
about it.
heard of this
Yeah.
Encanto until someone mentioned it in the stream on Friday. I'm like, what, Kanto? Like, even like the thing from IDW? Oh no, Encanto. Never heard of.
Yeah. So like, I don't know how well this thing's going to play. I don't even know if it's on Disney Plus at the same time. I have no idea what the deal is with it, because I had just heard recently. So yeah, I don't know. Maverick Christian says, bizarre that a female-led racially diverse cast gets linked to Milo Yiannopoulos, etc., despite having zero politics. And that's the thing I thought was funny about it, and I brought up a couple times in the reviews, is that it's so hilarious between this and the Eternals, where they've had these movies where they actually have diverse casts, right? And yet they haven't been able to find their way to give them the past that they have things in the past, like Ghostbusters. But with Ghostbusters Afterlife specifically, it is everything, and it has everything to do with what Andre was saying before. And that is, if they say this is a good movie, that's like them admitting defeat, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That is them admitting that everything that we've been saying the past 5 years now was complete BS, because it turned out that the fans, this is what they wanted, and what they wanted really wasn't that bad. It was them that were everything that they were accusing the fans of being. The fans weren't sexist, they weren't misogynist. Look at it right now. There's a female-led movie, and the fans are freaking loving it. It was never about the women. This is what I always said. It was about the fact that the fans don't want a remake of any kind. If it was like a male-centric remake, that's not a thing, but if it was, that would be bad too. If it was a shot-for-shot remake, no one would want it. People wanted a continuation. And if that continuation starred a woman, then cool, as long as it's not misandrist. And this movie is all of that. This is exactly what people wanted the whole time. This is what Sony should have given people in 2016. Unfortunately, Amy Pascal decided that identity politics was the order of the day, and we've suffered for it ever since. And the people now, they got so brainwashed with it. They got so brainwashed with this movie, because this became like a political cause. This was like on the posters, in the barricades and everything, the ones that weren't, but symbolically, right? And so you have like everything being thrown out. Now, like Milo Yiannopoulos. Now, there's a name I haven't heard for a long time. But yeah, of course, because people are traumatized with him and his like spat with Leslie Jones, where in many ways she was more aggressor. But then her nude pictures got leaked, in which people, of course, also tied to that. And yeah, that's like the fun thing with like her.
Thank you for all those who sent those to me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And I
you
mean
so
that
much.
sarcastically as fuck.
Yeah.
There's happy nudes and there's not happy nudes.
I was
okay?
almost I'd almost was happier seeing the Amber Turd than than I was opening those fucking DMs when I got
Actually,
the Leslie Jones pictures.
yeah,
That's just scary as hell,
there's like a slight like symbolic link for those that like, if you ever wondered if Leslie Jones does backdoor action, it's answered in those pictures in explicit detail. So yeah, thanks for those sending them to me. But anyway, the funny thing is that the bullying just wouldn't stop because, like, when you had like the leaks of Jennifer Lawrence and stuff happening, that was called
Yeah.
the fappening, whereas some people called her pictures leaking the anti-fappening. Some people even called it the
And
blindening.
I almost want to feel sorry for these guys, but I don't because it's like you are celebrities. You have 100 people who run your life. You would think somebody would be smart enough to tell you, by the way, don't put your pictures on your cloud. And not only that, you're a celebrity. Don't take no fucking nude pictures.
Well,
Yeah, you're saying.
or if you do, at least be careful
No,
of
no, you
having him
should
in
be
the cloud.
smart about it. I
At
don't
least
give a fuck.
at least
That's
look like
called
Selma
blackmail,
Hayek.
Andre.
Yeah, for real, blackmail.
You're setting yourself up for that shit.
Yeah, or humiliation. I don't know that Leslie Jones was ever blackmailed. I think that was more about humiliation.
No, but humiliation would be the other one. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Next in line. But no, Zontar says, will Sony in the 20s be the Disney of the 10s? This is a very good question,
Well,
Zontar.
certainly where Marvel is concerned.
Perhaps. I don't know. Here's the thing. Sony is going to be the ones at the end of this year. I can guarantee you they're going to ones who are going to walk away being topmost to the popmost the first time in I don't know how many years, which is funny because Sony has generally battled Lionsgate for the bottom of the barrel, right? Like it's Andre knows what I'm talking about because he calls Lionsgate Bomb Factory.
Yeah, of course.
And for years, if you watched because there's like, 5, 6 major studios, Sony and Lionsgate would constantly be vying for last place on who would, fuck up worse that year.
Yeah,
But
they had like a game of can you top this?
yeah, but at this point, it's almost like Tom Rothman, believe it or not, has been one of the greatest things to ever happen to Sony. He has come in, he has cleaned house. He don't give a shit about franchises. So, and this goes back to what you were just saying, Andre. Here's the thing. As much as we hate Ghostbusters 2016, if it wasn't for that movie, we would not have gotten this movie. And Jason Reitman has said this too, and he's 100% correct. Because even if we had not gotten that female-driven Ghostbusters, a year or two down the line, we'd have still gotten some kind of passing of the torch, and it probably wouldn't have been nearly what we had wanted. It would have been either some other director like Paul Feig, and it would have still had a cast like we got, and it probably would have only had like, Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson, and that's about it. And it probably would have been really kind of crappy, and it would have been just kind of fall flat. And I get it. Some people aren't on board with this film, but for the most part, the overwhelming majority are very happy with this movie. So I think that, this was all like a perfect storm. So it seems like Tom's more than happy to let Ivan and Dan and Jason handle Ghost Corps. He's more than happy to let Kevin Feige and Disney deal with the Spider-Man MCU side of things. And as far as that goes, they don't really have any other franchises outside of Sony PlayStation stuff. And again, that's a whole nother division that'll take care of that shit. He's more concentrated on the little movies that make the bank, right? He is trying to run the studio like classic Hollywood. You make a bunch of little movies to make a bunch of bank. That funds your bigger movies that hopefully land at the box office and you get a tentpole movie like a Ghostbusters, which this movie will be much more profitable already than the 2016 film. I can almost guarantee it because all it has to do at this point now is clear around 150 to 200 million dollars, and it's in the red, or it's out of the red and into the black big time because it only costs 75 million to make.
And I would like to add one thing also about the Tom Rothman and traditional Hollywood way of doing things. This movie is the perfect example of that. Tom Rothman hates taking risks and he hates spending money unless he's fairly positive he's going to see a return on that money. This movie has a production budget of $75 million and it didn't need to cost anymore. They spent like every single trick they could, from what I understand, to keep the costs down, and it worked without the movie suffering for it.
If you'll notice,
So
nobody's
fantastic.
griping about the special effects or anything
No,
like that.
exactly. That's what I mean. I mean, it did amazing. I mean, like under Amy Pascal or someone else, this movie would have cost 150 million, and then this opening weekend would have been disappointing. It would have been the end of that. But I think that we're going to get like a strong Ghostbusters franchise from here on out, because relative to the budget, this opening weekend wasn't bad. Not bad at all.
No, not at all. And again, it has the opportunity to keep playing through Thanksgiving weekend, which means luckily gets a 4-day, kind of weekend deal next weekend. I wish they would, it almost would have made sense to hold off till next weekend, but I don't care. At this point, I was just glad to finally see it. I wish it had done a little bit better at the box office, just because I know we're going to be facing this uphill battle with the fucking uh, pundits and the so-called journalists. But yeah, but thank you for that question, Zontar. That was a very good question. But at this point, I think, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these next couple of years go. You might be right. Maybe not so much in the franchise department, but you never know. We might see Sony take the top spot for the next couple of years here. Maybe they'll be starting to battle Universal for the top spot instead of battling Lionsgate for the bottom. That might be a change of pace for them. Thank you, Neo Jones, for becoming a member. We appreciate that. Then we got Bob A here with says, "Hail, Midnight's Edge. I watched Ghostbusters Goonies, sorry, Afterlife this afternoon and enjoyed it very much. I've got to say, McKenna Grace nailed her role and carried the movie. There, I said it. Discuss. Oh, she is the highlight of this film. I will say this, like up front, I'm really curious to see how Andre is going to feel about this movie. But basically, from what I've been telling people, or at least people who've been asking, is like, if you go into this expecting a Ghostbusters 3, that's not really what you're going to get. This is a movie that is way different from those things. It's more like, Jason Reitman, I'm trying not to get into spoilers here, but Jason Reitman clearly was a fan of not only Ghostbusters, but things like Goonies and probably Monster Squad and Karate Kid, because all those kind of movies kind of play into this movie too. You feel like you're watching one of those classic Hollywood films, and that's what I felt like watching this film.
And it doesn't feel like a romanticized version
No,
of Ghostbusters 3. It feels like what actually happened in their universe after we left them.
yeah, a script keeps putting it like it's a Ghostbuster universe movie. It's not really a Ghostbusters 3. He's like more of an epilogue. But it does have, set up things for the plausible future without throwing it in your face like a lot of movies do nowadays. But basically, if you are not on board with McKenna Grace's character, then you're not going to like the movie. Like, she is kind of the movie. And I feel like she did an amazing job. I think she's got a great future ahead of her. The beauty of it now is if they do decide to go into a sequel, it's been a couple years since they filmed this, and she's a little bit older, so they can explore, a little bit older version of her character now, which I know some people, that was their point of contention, was like, I didn't mind the character, but it would have been nice if she's a little bit older. But, that's a whole other discussion. But I know that a lot of people have been liking her portrayal in the film, without getting into spoilers, like I said. But she does a really great job in this movie, I think, anyway.
I thought she was phenomenal, Tom. Like, because she legit felt like she was an offspring of Egon.
Yeah, like, I
She
mean,
probably looks like it, like everyone guessed it just
here's
from
the
looking
beauty
at
of it,
her.
Andre, is she's not doing an impression, right?
Exactly.
She is doing this, it's her own thing, but yet it's fits, right? It's this way of like, it could be so easy for an actor, especially a young actor like that, to just go, oh, I'll just imitate said actor who I'm supposed to be. No, she didn't, clearly. And she did make it all her own. And again, the movie, if you like her role in the movie, you're going to enjoy it. If you don't, that's kind of what I've noticed. People is like, if they don't buy into that, then they're not going to get into it. And I don't get the comparisons to Stranger Things as much as I would Goonies and stuff like that. I do that. I see more so. PICC or PIC, I think it is, sends in 10 Canadian dollars. Says, saw both Afterlife and 2016 in the theater opening weekend. So did I. I will see Afterlife again, get the DVD, and back the pack. 2016 gets nothing from me but the disdain it showed the fans. Without respect, we reject. I hear you, Pick. That's why I didn't buy it until more recently for review purposes, and I made sure I bought it second market, so I did not give my money directly to Sony.
Yeah. And also, Lindsay, the cynical geek, says, did you guys have to bring up the Leslie Jones news? Well, this is like what group therapy is all about. So many people are traumatized. And you, like, as I always say, you got to share your feelings.
Well, that's the beauty of this. Like, I mean, and I'm glad we got 500 people watching right now, and I know Valiant's lurking in the chat. I want him to be in here too, but he's sadly working because he's great with the numbers game. But this is kind of what do you want to call it? kind of defining moment for our fandom, because a big part of Midnight's Edge's history is Ghostbusters 2016, and this is, I mean, I'm not trying to insinuate that Midnight's Edge is in any way directly responsible for this film, but I feel like we were a major part of the push from the fandom to say, no, we're not going to take it anymore.
I,
Right?
on the other hand, will say that Midnight's Edge is directly responsible for
Nah, I
this
don't know
film.
about that. I don't want to get that.
Because
Well,
why not?
yeah, so carry on, Jesse. I have something to add to that, but carry on, Jesse.
No, why not say it? It's unprovable.
Yeah.
Can't disprove it.
No, what I would say though is that what I think we did is that we did something that no other journalist or trade or other publication did. And when we say we, to be clear, that was mostly a solo point at the show at that point. So that was me
Right.
that was running through the leaked emails that leaked in the Sony hack, and found all of the different emails, set them together in a timeline where the full horrible story of what happened behind the scenes emerged. And what Midnight's Edge did was bring that to the world, disseminate it, so that more and more people picked up on, oh my God, this is what really happened here. Now, it didn't get loads of mainstream attention, the exact details that were happening behind the scenes, but it got some. More and more people were like aware that this was really shifty, what had happened. And that is courtesy of Midnight's Edge. Also, we were the ones that broke exactly when the embargo would be lifted and why. So that was kind of like our first scoop in a way. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
There you go. And Robert Gamble sent us $1.99. Didn't say something, or Google decided it was not kosher. So sorry about that if they did. I see Polly's in the but thank you for the donation. And Polly's in the chat. I sent you the link, Polly, if you're not busy.
And also Robert Gamble, he also had his comment.
Sorry, go back to that. My bad.
Because he had a comment right after the super chat, and he said, "With the Sony leaks, do you think Jason Reitman had a point to make to Sony and regaining his father's work?" I think that he had that regardless. That had nothing to do with the Sony leaks, because the only thing that the Sony leaks did was that enabled us to find out what happened. Ivan Reitman and Jason Reitman, they already knew what had happened. So not because of the leaks themselves, but because of that movie flopping, combined with Tom Rothman realizing, if we cut the budget enough, there's potential here, and we're going to let these guys give it a shot. Then, of course, Reitman would be all more interested in getting his retaking the family legacy,
right?
Which luckily he has done. Very happy to say that.
Peter has a great question here. Says, without spoilers, how PG-13 is this? I have a fairly sensitive 9-year-old. He's into ghosts, but not violence. I actually been bringing this up, and it's not anything against the film. I don't know why it's PG-13. It is PG. I don't know what the hell their thought processes was on the rating part of this. If your child was fine with the first Ghostbusters, there's probably more scary sequences than that. There's a few jump scares in this. There's a few sequences that might be a little hairy, but again, if they're fine with the first film, I don't see a problem here. What about you, Jesse? Because you actually have a younger kid. Mine's already a little older, but I know Crow's Nest Jr. is a little bit younger. So how did he react to this? How would you?
Yeah, he's 11, and when we saw the original Ghostbusters in the theaters for the anniversary, I didn't say nothing to him because I wanted the library ghost to scare him, and it did. In this one, he wasn't scared. I mean, like he's seen way worse movies than this.
Yeah, he does watch a little bit hairier stuff. But I would honestly say, I mean, if your 9-year-old's fine with the first film, I think you're good. I don't think you'll have a problem. Or sorry.
Look, when I was a kid, the terror dogs were freaking scary. The terror dogs are still freaking scary.
They're probably the scariest part of this film, yeah.
They are terror dogs.
And that's not a spoiler. They're in the frickin' trailers. Yeah, pretty much Yeah, there's a few jump scares, but outside of that, I think you'd be okay.
Spoiler: there's ghosts.
Yeah, there's a few ghosts, but not as many as you'd think, probably. Hunter Skowrun, if I'm saying that right, Skowrun, says, "Did you find the third act a little exploitative?" No. In fact, I found that this film did what Star Wars failed to do, and that was introduce us to a new generation while not tearing the old one down and doing a very good job of paying homage. And there's some people who are like, "Oh, I wish I had more of the stuff that was in the third act," and I understand that, me too. But at the same time, it's like, I found this to be like a very refreshing film. I've said it again, and I'll say it again and again and again. I have not felt like I've seen a movie like this in 20 years. It feels like classic Hollywood movies. You can sure, it was made to make a profit and sell some merchandise, but at the same time, I felt like this had more soul and emotion and care, and it was a love letter to the fans and Harold Ramis, better than anything ever could be. I don't know if you could have done it any other way at this point. There's just, I mean, there's things, yes, that I think you could have done a little different, maybe a little better, but that's just nitpicky bullshit in comparison
You
to what
know,
Jason pulled off.
it took guts to have Harold there, and they did it well. I got respect. They respected him. They respected the fans, and I respect them for it. Pretty simple on that one.
Yeah, but I'm with Red Tigers here. Please hit that like button and share out the stream if you can. But yeah, so I don't think it was very exploitative, and I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, Jesse. But if you guys in the chat have seen it, give it a yes or no if you think it was exploitative in the chat. I don't think so.
I don't think it was exploitative. I think it was just a little quick. I would have liked to see it drug out a bit more.
Yeah, well, that's what I was kind of saying. But again,
like it was there and it happened. But I would have liked to seen a little more relishing of the moment. Maybe draw the battle out to be more intense, longer.
yeah, I hear you. But again, like, not to get into too many spoilers, I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I left wanting more, and that's all that matters. So.
Yeah, precisely. That's exactly it. If my biggest complaint is that I wanted to see more of it, then make
That's a
another
good
movie
complaint
for
to
me.
have. But with that, I think, was there anything else you wanted to touch on, Andre? I know we got another super chat from Paul is playing here, but we'll grab this and then we'll, yeah, as
Yeah.
Andre says, finally a real female-led Ghostbusters. Yes.
Yeah, for real.
And Paris, fellow Norwegian, says, when the 25% different contract will end, or will the franchise be rehabilitated with 100% fan-friendly contracts? I guess you must be talking about Star Trek right now. And, I would not hold my breath, because as long as Secret Hideout and Bad Robot are there, is a 25% different contract to apply, because that is what they were hired under. And for as long as either of the two are there, that is what's going to be renewed again and again and again, the alternate license. So the only way to get out of that is for their work with CBS to cease completely, and for some time to pass, and then for CBS or Viacom CBS to start over themselves. That's the only way that they can go back to the original Star Trek. And when is that going to happen? I cannot tell. I wouldn't hold my breath, though. I know that they want them out. I know that
Well,
we've
they
heard
didn't make
nothing about them being happy.
they
because
didn't make
now they pay
many
more.
fans with their latest move, and we said this was going to happen, that the show was going to get pulled from Netflix overseas and shit like that.
We did say
And-
that, so I'm very happy with that prediction.
And they have pissed off what few fans they have had left outside of the US now. And you even have fans in the US that are fighting for those fans. So it's really become like, like they're almost infighting now at this point, because they went and pulled this move. And this is something they should have done from the very fucking start. This is what's stupid about this whole goddamn thing they're doing right now, because they're acting like this was like part of the plan, which is also ridiculous. But I know. I think Andre's working on something like that, and there's still constantly shit
We
coming
are
out.
we are actually working on the Star Trek follow-up
And
video,
I even got some
because of
more.
course we have to like bring up the fact that our scoop was right. Netflix wanted out, we said 2 years ago, and that may spell the end. And people like to say that we've been wrong time and again, but they're the ones who are wrong. We're actually been right again and again and again, both on Star Trek and many, many other things.
Yeah.
Netflix leaving being a big one.
But basically, I've been hearing rumors now, and again, this is rumors, and this goes along with what we said already once. Now, not only are they going to split up what they shot into 2 separate seasons, what we heard before, Andre. Now there's a rumor going around they're going to split up this one season they already split up, so that so they can save the other half for when they finally get more Paramount Plus launched in other places.
All right, so season 4, the extended season 4, which was to split up to be season 4 and 5, is now going to be season 4, 5, and 6. Hey,
Yeah.
maybe now the reason why not split it up into 7? So we have multiple 3-episode seasons. Yeah, fantastic, good going, guys.
Yeah,
Way
it's
to be able
because
to say
they've
that.
gotten so much backlash for this. That's the rumor going around, is now they're thinking about splitting up this season that they're on now into halves, just so they can save the other half for when Paramount Plus is open in more territories.
And what the hell makes them think that Paramount Plus is going to be a huge hit in those
They
territories?
did have their best week ever, I guess, last week, but that don't mean shit.
I'm resentful that the South Park extra content movies are going to be on Paramount, because I really don't want to give that company money, but I really want to watch South Park.
That's why I waited till like this week, because I think it's this week that starts. I'm gonna sign back up again when that comes on, just to prove my point, and that's all I'm gonna watch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
because I think that's this week that pops up. So
to think that
cancel it.
Paramount Plus actually was in Norway and it disappeared from here for some reason, and I didn't even know.
Yeah, I can't remember. Somebody said something about that, but I think that's because they're pushing it somewhere. I think they put it on Amazon or some shit. I don't know what you guys have there for there, but I don't know. They got some deal with Amazon too on top of it. Audrey 3 says, maybe you'll make some friends here. Make them out of what? I love that when the simple, written, and well-delivered lines can tell you so much. Oh, there's some great lines in this film. And also joining us real quick here as we nearly round out, but we still have 600 of you watching, crazily enough.
Paulie.
Show some love for Paulie and hit that like button. Welcome, Paulie. How you doing? Of the Latino Slant, of course, and Midnight Edge Espanol, and the main channel as well. How you doing?
And also massive kudos to Paulie for being instrumental in getting Danny Trejo earlier today. That was awesome. So yeah, massive kudos to him. Check out Latino Slant.
Yeah, that was downright surreal.
It was so weird.
Bob A says, on a tangent, West Side Story trailer. This is perfect timing for you, Paulie.
Yes.
No, air. I don't know why remake a total classic. The Spider-Man trailer on the big screen. Oh yes, please. West Side Story is a bit of a point of contention for a lot of people right now, especially fans of In the Heights, and how that was handled.
So much here, so much entertainment.
Right.
First of all, great job, guys. Great job on the Trejo stream this morning. Jesse, great questions. I'm a big fan of Ghostbusters Afterlife. I suffered through about 30 minutes of 2016 the other night. I could not finish, guys. It was very painful. You know,
it was extremely painful.
You know, and to show you how back on the Trejo stream, you know you did something right when your girlfriend and your AA sponsor text you saying great show.
Nice, very cool.
But yeah, I don't see what Ghostbusters Afterlife is a fun flick, man. I don't see, is it perfect? No, but it's more than entertaining. It's and then it goes with those two kid leads, Phoebe and Podcast. Without those two actors, it's really not much of a film. I mean, they were the heart and soul.
Problem is the people who are critical, they're not really critical of the movie for itself. They're just looking for something to be critical because they look at the movie, and as I said before, they don't see it. They see something else in its
Yeah.
place. They see Trump. They see Rittenhouse. They see here
What?
is where we should have seen. Where we should have seen. Oh yeah, absolutely. Look at the criticism. Like so many people are talking about Trump and like how fans are like Rittenhouse. So you have people that generally have
What?
that
Yeah, that's
mentality.
that's
Oh yeah,
that's just what it is, though. They say, "Oh, these people like this. That must mean that this is something like this, and I need
yeah,
to rage against it."
yeah, exactly. So this
Agree.
movie is a right wing, white extremist movie.
Yep, makes sense.
I can't. I can't.
Yeah, I know.
I
The
can't.
mental gymnastics necessary
Right.
is just
Yeah.
astronomical.
Speaking
You know-
This movie is toxic masculinity personified.
Which
speaking
one?
of Ghostbusters Afterlife.
It's
From the little
toxic
chick,
masculinity?
from the little
Yeah.
chick.
You know, there's something from Trejo that we didn't touch upon was when he talks about his book and in his documentary about real toxic masculinity, like gangs and men in prison and shit like that.
Just
That's
like
toxic.
you said, the pissing contest.
The pissing contest, that's toxic. You know,
Yeah.
men being providers and being strong for their families and being strong with the community. That's not toxic. That's just masculine.
Protecting, etc. Brian Penny Guas, if I'm saying that right, I'm sure I'm
Oh.
butchering the piss out of that. I'm so sorry, sir. Brian sends in $4.99 and says, "Is anyone else tired of seeing Kingsman trailers? They've been in front of every movie
wanna
I've
see the
seen in
damn
theaters
movie.
since fall 20. I thought the damn thing was out already. I seriously did.
I've been
until I
waiting
saw
to
the
see
trailer this weekend.
Rasputin for 2 years.
Yeah,
But you know, that's a good point because Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer is just as old, and they
True.
pull those trailers for a long time. I actually forgot about the movie for a while.
Well, it's because the world changed for a little bit there.
No, but the Kingsman, you just kept seeing the trailers. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, they just never knew when they were going to get the damn thing out. STR Red Wolf says, "Paulie, many thanks for getting Danny Trejo." Well, there you go. Some love from the audience for that.
Dude, me and Romy, we're gonna go get our Christmas sweaters
Nice.
from Trejo's Tacos today.
I want that beanie. That's the kind of
James-
winter hat I wear. So
Welcome to the membership, James Esperanza. We appreciate you being a member. And then Steve
Esparza.
Lee I'm sorry. I butchered it.
James Esparza,
Esparza.
welcome.
Steve Lee sends in $13.99 Canadian, says about 100 years ago, studios owned theaters and government said they had to split up and couldn't own both the means of distribution and production. Maybe this needs to happen again. Well, sadly enough, Steve, they just got that law stricken, or at least they were in the process of that. Like there was some shady shit going on.
This is what held up the merger between AT&T and Warner.
Yes.
It was bypassing just that.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting thing that's it's still in the process, I think, of going on right now. I have to check into that with a lot of the things that have been going on otherwise in the world. This was something that kind of got pushed to the background, but had we been like in a normal situation, it would have been right up front. Because this is basically they're looking at getting rid of that law, so then that means the studios can then have their own theaters and theater chains, which it could get very fucking messy. And I think that the situation we're in right now put a big damper on that. But I know with Amazon coming into the game, that was a very scary notion. Anybody have anything to add to that? No, but the
not
law.
as such, no. But
okay, well, the law that Steve Lee is talking about, basically to kind of make it a little bit more easier to understand, is back in the day they made it to where studios couldn't own the theaters, so they would get away from unfair practices. Basically, meaning like if a studio owned this theater, their movie would get, prime spot, and then they could even keep out other movie studios films from certain cities where they don't own a theater, right? So like Disney could own theaters in 4,000 fucking cities, as opposed to Sony, who only has 2,000 theaters, right? So it creates unfair competition in that sense, as opposed to where if you have independent theaters and theater chains in different markets everywhere, that gives everybody equal footing. But if, let's say, Amazon decides to buy into AMC, well, they own MGM now. Well, that means AMC could possibly highlight more MGM films and keep out Disney films or Universal films, and it's going to get messy if that thing came across. I have to do some research again to see how far they were with that. But last I knew that they had gotten it to where they were going to get that taken away. So
Yeah, but is that legal? Like, could you even
it
go so
wasn't
far as to
before.
say?
That's the point, Jesse, is it wasn't before. That now they're trying to, as
Yeah, but
Palpatine would say,
I would think
I
that
will
even if you
make it
charge
legal.
different companies different prices for availability
That's the
of the
whole
screen,
thing.
I mean,
Exactly. That's the whole problem, is it creates a very unfair situation. And I can't believe they were able to make it legal again. But that, I think, is where they're at right now with it. Again, I got to double check on that if it actually went through, but last I knew it did. So
it sounds insane.
it is, but it's true. It's very fucking true.
Yeah, but what kind of loophole could they find to get around unfair business practices? For
I
lack
don't
of
know at
anything
this
better.
point. I really don't. I don't even know how they even thought they could get away with doing it. I don't know how it's going to work. But again, that's something I definitely need to do some more research on again, because it's not something I've been able to follow since a
Yeah,
lot of
me
the
either.
modern stuff. Xenobit says, been following alternate media, internet since 1998. Citizen journalism influences mainstream more than you realize. I hope so. But I'm gotten to a point where, from what I've learned from a lot of people I've talked to inside, they that's not really the case. They're pretty left leaning, and they run with the propaganda bullshit pretty hardcore.
Yeah, that's the bigger issue, actually, more so than anything else, is running with a certain narrative, regardless of the political color of each individual journalist, although they do tend to be more at one side than the other. And also, Audrey said that we missed her super chat there. I know we got it, but maybe she missed us getting it. So just to play it safe, Audrey the Third said, maybe you'll make some friends here. Make them out of what? I love when simple, well-written, well-delivered lines can tell you so much, and that makes me want to see the movie even more. Just that one line.
Yeah, we did bring that up when Polly was coming in, so maybe it got lost in the shuffle there. But
Sorry
yes,
about
No,
that.
we didn't get it, but
She had a lot of great lines. Phoebe
yeah.
had a lot of
Phoebe
great lines.
shines.
I like
she-
her jokes. Those
She
are up my
underplayed
alley.
them, like Egon would, from being obtuse. Small wink, and that got a big laugh. It took a second for the audience when she said that, but
Spoilers, guys. Spoilers.
oh,
Steve,
sorry.
yeah, Steve Lee says and has more to go on with his previous super chat. Says, yeah, streaming too. Netflix was better when they just shared other people's stuff. Now it's like what it was 100 years ago with streaming. Shouldn't own both. Yeah, Steve, and streaming is really one of the reasons why this entire thing has kind of become messy. And,
yeah, it's really messy, because think of also too the people in front, writers, as far as contracts. They had their streaming hasn't been a part of their contracts, residuals, so it's a big mess.
Absolutely. It's a mess for those, and also it's going to be a mess for consumers, because at some point you're going to be right back to cables when you start having like people that deliver different
we pretty much
streamers
already are.
mixed together. So yeah, then you're right back to where you started.
We covered a
almost.
story on Midnight's Edge After Dark, Andre, where it's talked about people already stream hopping, where they'll keep one base for the month or two base for the month, and then after that they'll just pick a different one. Like, basically, most people already have Amazon, so they'll have Amazon and Netflix maybe. Then they'll bounce between Disney Plus. Then the next month they'll get HBO Max. Then the next month they'll get down the line.
I'll tell you what they're going to.
I'm just talking about these companies taking advantage of writers, directors, and actors.
On that note, that's something that Script and I talk about all the time. And the problem there is the lack of transparency. We have no idea most of the time if something's a hit or not, unless they basically promote it, like Squid Game, right?
Yeah,
and that's where you get no sense of where these writers, actors, directors, anybody can renegotiate their contracts and actually get any kind of incentive to do better, because you don't have the type of model like they used to with television, where a show was hit, you had the ratings were transparent, the advertisers saw the ratings, they're like, well, we want to get our product on that show, hence the show's advertising rates would go up, meaning the directors, the writers, and the actors could all ask for a little bit more money when they got to renegotiate their contracts. You're right, that Polly, that has become a roadblock now for a lot of entertainers, and when you're working for some of these companies like Netflix, like, yeah, it's great to have something out there that's getting a lot of eyes on it, but you're right. Like, they're not able to make the kind of money they used to, or be able to even realize how successful or unsuccessful something is because of the transparency factor. Even though I believe Netflix is now supposed to be reporting their numbers to what is it, Nielsen or whatever. But until advertising becomes more of a part of the game, that is going to be a problem, Paulie.
Yeah, what I'm talking, and I covered this a few months ago when the LA Times did a expose on one of the writers of Selena, which was like, Selena, both seasons were a huge international hit for Netflix. Number one in several countries, like a dozen countries at one point for that first couple of weeks. They're paid peanuts, and they filmed in Mexico, and basically that writer said that, hey, we literally did it for Salinas and for her legend, but they didn't pay a shit. I mean, that's just one hit show that where they spoke out. It's like, what's going on? Are they just trying to get the just like that bottom dollar from these TV shows, and then they produce them, and then they become international hits, or like Squid Game. I hate seeing that stuff.
Now, what do you guys think about with this stream hopping going on? Do you think that eventually these services are going to be like, well, if you cancel, you won't be able to sign up again for another 6 months like other companies do?
No, why would they do that? Because
It's to keep you from
I mean,
canceling.
but that's really taking a chance, though. I mean, because then audience are going to have to choose, and how many are going to choose? You know what? I can probably do without this. Then they're never coming back.
It's really hard to like keep track of that. Like, you almost need to create a different department. The Netflix,
Yeah, that's more money right there. There's
know?
statisticians keeping track on who is kind of coming back and who isn't, and how do we punish them? How do we punish and how do we reward?
Yeah, because I've run into that before with, I think it was a cable company, and it did feel like a punishment. But it did prevent me from canceling.
I can only imagine that cable company must have had something of like a local monopoly or like local power, so that you only had some very limited choices in that area. And I don't think that the streamers today really have that luxury where they can go and say that if you cancel with us, you are banned from rejoining in the next 6 months or so. Like, imagine, for instance, that you're Disney Plus and you just cancelled after the Mandalorian. Like, okay, well, fine. Boba Fett is a year away. I don't care about anything else until then. I'm good with that. Cancel. Or screw you. I'm pirate then. I don't know that they have that luxury. I think the only thing that they have is going to be like discounts for like bonuses for extra loyal customers to stick with them. That's the best thing I can think of.
Xenobit says Disney nickel and dimes theaters into favoring Disney movies. The problem with shared theaters is studio with most money wins regardless. Yep, that's kind of what I was saying. Xenobit is that studios that will have more influence in more areas, and it'll get messy. And with the whole thing with streaming kind of really changed things in how we're going to be dealing with things going forward. So it'll be an interesting road ahead to see how this goes. But that's something I definitely should go back and check out where it was sitting. Last I knew, they had gotten that law taken out, but I think there was some resistance to it. So we'll see. Was there anything else we wanted to cover today, guys? Because I think we're caught up on super chats then.
I'm just hoping this movie makes a ton.
What was that?
I just want this movie to make a ton of money. If you've seen it already, go see it again. Have fun. Enjoy yourself.
I'm on mute. How did it do? I'm sorry, I was on mute. Did it make money this past weekend?
Did all right. It did just like 2 or 3 million less than what the 2016 movie did.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
really?
Would have been better if it had outdone it. But for the studio marketing departments guys or financial guys, they will be happy. This is a good performance relative to the budget. But for like the PR struggle, it would have been better if it had outdone the 2016 movie.
Yeah, but the thing we also have to take in consideration there is that word of mouth killed that previous movie, and word of mouth is going to enhance this movie.
Yeah. Next
So I
weekend,
think we should wait and see.
I think that this movie is going to have a bigger second weekend than the 2016
It does
movie.
have some international markets to open in yet, too, as I was pointing out before. And then Tennille says, Jesus of Christ, Andre, how are you awake? Like, more like, how am I awake? But, like, yeah.
How was
Yeah,
that?
well, it's 10 o'clock here, so this
Yeah, it's
ain't so
10.
bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, it ain't so late there. But, yeah.
It ain't that bad.
Yeah, I mean, you did ask me about West Side Story. I mean, we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah. What's the feeling with West Side? Yeah, we did kind of
Right.
to talk a little bit about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I get both sides. It's like, in the age of remakes, it's like why remake this? The other side is that they're, actually have casted Latinos in the Latino main characters and the film when it was originally done in the early 60s, so we're talking almost 50 years now. It's been so why so definitely a lot of time has passed. It's a classic. So I mean, it seems like a good enough reason, and I know Spielberg has a lot of love for that musical. So yeah, I definitely get a lot of eyeballs when I cover it on the channel. So those are my hot takes, man.
All right. There was a question how it was GB was doing on per average. It was roughly doing about 3,000 on Friday and Saturday on average, and then just over 2,000 on average, or about 2,600 on average for Sunday, 3,700 and 3,800 respectively on Friday and Saturday. So there you go.
Yeah,
And then-
Matthew W. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
remember Matthew W. says looks like they changed the plot of West Side Story a bit from the trailer. I think there's a new trailer out. I'm gonna check it out. I know there's some elements they they wanted to flesh out a little bit more. So, but from the trailers that I saw, the teaser and the first trailer, for me, it definitely looks good. It's definitely something that I'll probably take my mom to see.
I mean, I guess my biggest point of it is why Steven Spielberg, but whatever. I mean, it is what it is. Paulus Plain sends in another 100 Norwegian krona. Thank you so much. Says people do love their brand. See the Coca-Cola story of the 1980s. Yes. And how ironic is that Coca-Cola owned Columbia at the time that Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 came out.
Yeah, imagine that. Ghostbusters owned by Coca-Cola.
Who are you gonna call?
And did you know the president of the company hated that fucking movie?
Well, screw him.
Lee Iacocca?
It's been known to happen.
I don't know if he was the head then or not.
Right.
I'm trying to think. I don't think that's the guy's name who I was thinking of.
He was probably pro Ghost,
Nah.
I don't need nobody busting me in the afterlife.
Yeah, right.
I worry about the FBI busting down my door every goddamn day as it is. No.
Apparently, Danny Trejo is going to be a tree in the next one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Xenobit
It's going to be a Christmas movie.
Oh my god.
Xenobit says syndicated broadcast TV used to be 26 or 52 episodes a year. You can't sustain a streaming service with only 4 shows and 10 episodes per year. Yeah, this is probably one of the bigger arguments or problems that people have had with younger kids probably don't really notice it as much because they haven't lived in a world where we used to have this, but like before the days of streaming and cable shows, average seasons were 22 24 episodes per season, and it had been that way for a long time. This new kind of like low run episodes, I mean, it's both a blessing and a curse, wouldn't you think, Andre, in some respects?
Honestly, I think it's more of a blessing. I really, really do.
I knew you were going to go there.
I have always preferred the much shorter seasons. Just look at the British. Their most classic series. They have like a maximum of like 6 episodes a season, sometimes just 3. I mean, talk about like a series like Faulty Towers, and how classic a series that is. And it's just like 12 episodes or something like that in total, the whole thing, because it was 2 seasons, and they were 2 short seasons. Or Blackadder, 4 seasons of 6 episodes, plus a couple of specials. And that way you can you have like the same writers that don't really have any filler episodes, because the problem with to me at least, the series where you have like 26 episodes per season, like the Star Trek series and stuff, you're going to have like 5 6 really standout episodes in a season. What if you just had that, not all the other filler? And yeah, I prefer that. I prefer the shorter seasons. I'm okay with like 13 episode series, but if you look at, say for instance, some of the Netflix series like Daredevil and The Punisher and stuff, they were 13 episodes, and they were dragging a little bit. They only had material for like 10 episodes. They really need to be shorter seasons still. So I say keep them short, keep them sweet.
On the other hand, though, I will say, and this is, I don't know, maybe if this is just something anybody else has noticed or disagrees or agrees with, but it almost seems like classic cartoons, especially during the 80s, like, you know, the intro bunch was always really great. And generally, like that first 60 were kick ass. And then we'd always make the first 60 episodes at the same fucking time, right?
Yep.
And then it was usually that second or third season where shit would go rolling downhill. Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters is a prime example.
Yeah, because they
Ninja
always
Turtles and a few other ones
order a
were
certain
too.
amount of episodes,
He-Man
the
and stuff, yeah.
cartoons, and then they have to go back to the drawing board to make more.
Kinda,
It's just
yeah.
never
And I
the
wonder
same.
if anybody else noticed that either, but like that's the case where Andre, where I'd say the opposite, where like where you're doing something like that, because like Ghostbusters specifically, I remember, because like that first 60 some episodes or whatever in that first run were just stupendous, and then ABC got involved after that, and that's when it turned over to the crappier shit. And I mean, it kind of happened with He-Man too, with She-Ra, when they introduced She-Ra into that latter
Yeah,
part.
but that has nothing to do with the number of
No,
episodes.
I know it doesn't, but
That's a
you know,
production cycle.
I get it, but at the same time, it almost feels like those better ones that were all done in that initial run, or even like an argument in a situation like with Dune, where a lot of people are like, well, why didn't they just shoot them all at once? Or even more so with It, where it would have made more sense to at least shoot all the kids' stuff at the same time, right? Like in certain cases like that, I think you can do okay, but not. And I agree with both ends of it. If it's a show that lends itself to more episodes and you can do a more episodic show, go for it. But if it's something where it doesn't need all that excess crap like Andre's talking, then don't. See, now to me, Star Trek's a show where you can explore more, and a lot of times the filler episodes weren't so much there because of filler as it was we need a cheaper episode, you know, like, or something like that, to where it's like, you know, one of the bigger episodes
And the
necessitated
irony
smaller.
is that to me, you're talking about bottleneck episodes. To me, a bottleneck episode is not a filler episode, because
I know there's a difference.
that's a budget saving episode. And some of my favorite episodes across the board are the bottleneck episodes, because those are the ones where you have to focus on the writing. What I'm talking about with filler episodes are episodes
I know
that
what you
can have
mean.
loads of effects, but the story is just super thin because it's rushed and not thought through. And it would have been better off if it hadn't been made. It's really annoying if you have like a plot thing that's important for later on that is in it.
Yeah.
So you can't ignore it completely, even if you wanted to.
Audrey3 says, also in my GB showing, people were cheering and clapping. I have been going back to the theater since May. And that is the first time people have clapped. Well,
I'm so glad to hear that, because that says something about like the mentality or like the outlook of the people who are there. If people are back in a movie and they're clapping again, that's just says something about it, not just about the movie, but about the spirits of people. So great, people got
unintended.
Yeah.
Tina Bowen,
Unintended, yeah.
yeah. Tina Bowen says, I'm a stickler for the original stage movie musicals, and I usually hate hearing about remakes. However, the new West Side Story trailer gives me chills. Well, I'm glad you're looking forward to that, Tina. I know some people are, and for those who are, I hope they get what they are wanting out of it. I've never been a huge fan of the original, and at this point, I'm just like, why is there a necessity for a remake or whatever? But you know, whatever.
There's
To me, it's like, why remake Grease?
place for us, Tom, somewhere.
I mean, I get it. It's
I
musical. It's
sense
in
that, Tom.
plays.
Okay, here's the thing, Tom. You saw it when you were too young, and you didn't fully
Pretty
appreciate it.
much.
If you were to watch it right now, I'm sure you would be a huge
I
fan
have it
of it.
on Blu-ray. It's been sitting in plastic for probably 10 years.
That's what I mean. You saw it when you were too young, and you
I
haven't
got
seen it
it.
since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll watch it
Well,
eventually.
and also too, it's like, which was the huge mismarketing of In the Heights. These are musicals. They're going to have an audience. They're the Broadway musical audiences, all the high schools, regional theaters that have put on these plays for decades, especially with the West Side Story. So, they're always going to want to see, something like this.
I'm not against them. I'm just like, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. It's perfect for Christmas.
Yeah.
It's
So with
perfect
that,
for any time of year for those so inclined. But yeah, as you were saying, with that, Tom.
I think we caught pretty much everything we needed to catch. Hopefully Audrey 3 got us getting the message, so you didn't miss that again. I hate that when people don't get to hear their super chats. But let's wrap this up. If you want to hear our feelings on Ghostbusters Afterlife, we have a spoiler roundtable that I believe has been put up on Midnight's Edge Live Archive now. So
That is correct.
always check out Live Archive for all our classic live streams.
And live streams become classic really fast.
And I saw somebody ask about our schedule earlier, so I'll run it down real quick because normally this is not our normal time. Obviously, today was a very out of whack day with Mr. Trejo coming on. Normally the show starts at 11 Central, 9 Pacific Time AM every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on the main channel, and then on Midnight's Edge After Dark, which is a completely different channel. Some people don't realize this, but a completely different channel. We have it on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings at 7 Central. But we also have Midnight's Edge Espanol. Now, Paul, you're going to have to do this one for me because I know you changed your schedule recently.
Yeah. So every Tuesday is our only live morning. So we're live every Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. And then we have videos out a couple
Pacific
of times.
time, right? 9 Pacific time.
Yeah, 9 a.m. Pacific. And then we have several videos out all during the week at strategic times. And so just make sure you're subscribed. I mean, we already almost have 3,100 subscribers, so it's amazing. Thank you. Gracias.
Also,
Xenobit has a question.
I put the Discord link in the chat. If any of you use Discord, the list of Midnight's Edge channels is
Jesse runs that shit.
Area.
I have no idea what he puts in there. So if he puts nudie pictures and stuff in there,
I should. It always boosts engagement.
If he puts the Leslie Jones pictures there, then don't blame us.
Yeah, we'll lose all our people that
be running my ass out of town on a rail.
Right? The power of Patty compels you.
I was a fool to think anyone would want nude photos of Whoopi Goldberg.
Nice deep cut there. Yeah. Xenobit asked a question, Paulie. Latino slant. Is that Hispanic or Asian?
I plead the fifth.
I think
it definitely has nothing to do with a derogatory reference.
I don't.
You can say Latino perspective, but Latino slant. That's all it is.
I think that yes. Yeah. I think he's just
definitely not that.
It sounded hip.
Yeah.
Well, it means perspective. So, there's no need to read anything more into it.
Well, hey, Zeno's the one who put in the chat, in the super chat, Asian, Hispanic or Asian. What if I said it was Asian? Yeah. Oh my God.
Then we'd be in trouble.
Well, you know what? Not for nothing. Those Tex-Mex egg rolls pretty good.
Oh man, you're hilarious. Fried chicken burrito, Trejo's Tacos.
We got chili ones.
I got to get that cookbook, man.
We got taco flavored now.
I'm just amazed.
They're like little burritos.
I wish you'd open up a couple of those up here, dude. Trying to find good food in Connecticut, it's like a friggin' wild goose chase.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see it.
Now I want a little egg roll that's basically, or like an egg roll that's like a little burrito.
Yeah.
That's what I'm in the mood for. Exactly, Lindsay. I'm hungry too. Xenobit says I'd be more inclined to watch it because I'm a weeb.
A weeb. What is that? What's a weeb?
Oh, Lord.
Anime fan.
Yeah.
Oh, if it was Asian?
Yeah.
Is that what that means?
Ah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, yeah, it's Asian.
Yeah, it's Asian. Whatever you want it to be, as long as you subscribe.
Right. As long as you come on over, we got the latest and
There's a steady paycheck in it.
in
I'll
weeb and
believe
anime.
anything you want.
we actually don't. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, just like Winston said, if there's a steady paycheck in it, he'll do anything you say.
Believe anything you say.
That's right. Well, I'll do anything in this case, but yes.
Oh, was it doing?
Well, no, he says it. You did the line right, but I changed it to do because it was for
Right.
for your stream or whatever.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. With that, I think we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank everybody once again for showing up. I didn't expect as many people here to be here today.
Nice,
I think Gary's still live. Head on over to Nerdrotic or wherever you head. Tell him Midnight's Edge sent you. And don't forget that Toxic Femininity, that was the only other show I did not bring up in our schedule earlier because, of course, I got to plug it. We have it tonight at 9, or I mean, it'd be 7 Central Standard Time.
5 p.m. Pacific.
5 p.m. Pacific, yes. I always go backwards
Wait,
on that one.
6.
6 Pacific?
Wait.
So now you're screwing me up.
I'm fucked up. Sorry.
Yeah, you were right the first time. It's 5 Pacific, 7 Central, and 8 Eastern.
Correct, sir.
Oh, Lord. So, yes, join the lovely ladies of the Toxic Femininity, brought to you by Midnight's Edge, where we talk about Ghostbusters and more tonight. So do look forward to that, and hopefully we will see you there.
Yes, a celebration and salt.
Yes, and with that, I believe, as Mecha J is pointing out here, and several others of you are, it is time for Koalas Getting Wet.
Ooh.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koalas in the rain.